Now that we have all the data brought in, we can start by dragging the correct values that we need from the respective data sets. So what we're going to start with is the income. So I'm going to click on the income here in the top left in the data sources to bring up the income per person. And that is going to go in the columns. And notice that when I do that, it defaults to sum. We want to change that to average. But also we have a blue check mark here in the corner of the data source. That indicates that this is the primary data source because I dragged it onto the canvas first. So next up is going to be the life expectancy. So let's drag that to the rows. So notice it says that I get a warning that fields cannot be used from life expectancy because there's no relationship to the primary data source. So we actually need to link these two data sources, which is where the orange check marks comes in. So right now there is in the life expectancy table, the country and year fields, there is a link with a line through it, indicating that they are not linked. When we click that, for both of them, now my two data sources are connected. So country and year of the life expectancy correspond to country and year of the income. So let's go ahead and do that for the countries total. So this is the region information. And let's do that for population as well. So now we have 3 orange check marks, 3 secondary data sources that are all correctly linked to our primary data source, the income, which was just the first one that we dragged onto the field. Okay, so now let's change the aggregation measure from sum to average so that we have the same function of being applied to each data. Next thing we need to do is add in the country field for any of them because they're all linked, but we'll just do it from the primary data source. So let's drag this to detail. So this gives us a dot for now every single country. And we can also color by region. So now I'll go to countries total and we'll bring in the region. So now I have a dot for every single country and a dot for, and each dot is colored by based on which region there is. And notice that it says null here. So maybe Antarctica didn't match up, or there are some countries where the spelling was slightly off, or maybe they were laterly introduced as a country. So let's go ahead and exclude the null values. So that way they don't show up on our color legend. Now, what we can do is recognize what each of these data points represents. So for Kuwait, the average life expectancy is 41 over the course of 1800 to the most recent year, 2018. Same thing, it is the average income over the course of the 200 plus years. So what we need to do is add years to the pages. This is going to break it out into kind of one panel for each individual year. We're just going to go ahead and add all members. And this is actually what gives us that animation effect from the Hans Rosling TED Talk. So now when I flip through the different years, we see that the points change based on whatever year I am in. So there's 2 more aspects that we can change. First thing is we can add size by population. So right now, every country is the same exact size, but of course, smaller countries, we want to be displayed as smaller. So let's bring in the population information and we'll drag this to the size mark. And now we can also change the relative size. So if I right click on the sum of population, let's actually change it to average just to be consistent. When I right click on this, I can edit sizes. Let's just make it a little bit more drastic. So this way the larger countries look a lot larger than the smaller countries. So for example, here, China, huge population relative to Argentina. So we want there to be big differences there. The other thing that we can do is edit the title. So right now, if I double click the title, it's saying the sheet name. This is what the grayed out section means in the less than or greater than signs. Let's just show the page name, which is going to be the year. And let's also change the color, indicating that this value changes as I change the page. And let's also make it a bit more larger of a font so it stands out a bit more, and we can bold. So now I'm looking at the 1934 data. Let's also do one more thing. So right now the axes, we can zoom in a little bit. So if I take a look at the very last year, 2018, the most income there ever is about 121,000. So let's zoom in. If I double click on that axis, it brings up the box here. Let's change it from automatic to fixed. So we do want to start at 0, and we'll go up to about 130,000. And let's do a similar thing for life expectancy. Actually, life expectancy, an axis of 80 seems to work really well. So if I go back down to the previous year, this should be set up perfect. Now, how does that animation come into play? So we have, because we have the year set up in pages, I have a play button here, and I can also increase the speed. So medium speed, slow speed, and fastest speed. So let's change it to fastest and then click play. And we will see that the countries are zigging and zagging. By each year, it's changing. Let's skip ahead a bit. So we'll pause the video and pause the playback, excuse me, and skip to 1950 and play from there. So we see that now we have a very dynamic plot that is changing. And if I highlight over a country, it's showing me the country, the population, the average life expectancy. We could also, if I stop this, we could add country to the label. And that is going to show a few of the labels. One thing that we could also do is show the history. So this is going to track the trail of a specific country. So Qatar recently has money, so maybe I want to look at their path. We can see that they had life expectancy, low income, low income, low income, and then a big shoot in the income for Qatar. And if I play the video, it also keeps tracking them along the way. So feel free to play with the different options here in the show history to see how those work. And if you want to show every single country video, country label, you can right click the label and allow labels to overlap other marks. That one is of course going to show too many, so maybe we don't want that option. With the animation, that might even take away from the visual. So let's actually remove the country from the label. And we are back at the visual that we had. So pretty neat demonstration of recreating that Hans Rosling using some pretty simple techniques in Tableau. I'll see you in the next video where we will combine these data sets to make a single table, and then we're going to add a little bit more to our visual.